As you guys probably know, we do film this show on Thursday and not Friday, and a lot of big things are happening today.
Taylor Swift new single, Katy Perry new video, Queens of the Stone Age new album. My word, what a big day, but we're not going to talk about any of that. Instead, we're going to talk about the top 5 news stories in video games this week.
That's right. Final Fantasy 15 is coming to PC, and a lot of people are talking about, the file size came out and it was apparently really big, and then Hajime Tabata, game director, was like, no, it's not actually that size, that was a mistake. So some things like that are happening, which are expected, and then some other things are being discussed, which are less expected.
Yeah, I actually have a question about the PC version of Final Fantasy 15, Jess. I like to play video games with mods. In particular,
we all do.
I'd be really interested to know if Final Fantasy 15 will allow me to have nude mods.
Well, it absolutely will, and apparently a lot of people have had this question, and Tabata has come out to address it and been pretty frank to say, if y'all want your nude mods, you can have your nude mods. He's told PC gamers and that basically it's a thing that people were worried about, that people brought to them saying, is this an okay thing? Are you guys gonna allow this? And they've been really frank about it and said, look, when you buy that game, it's your game and it's PC, and PC supports mods, and if you wanna mod it however you want.
I believe he used the phrase, we're gonna leave it up to the moral compass of the gamers. So, clearly he hasn't been on the internet at all ever in his life, so I can't wait for all the still images to be coming out for Final Fantasy 15 and those 4 dudes just running around hanging brain.
Yeah,
be amazing.
That's a phrase I wish wasn't in this news episode, and I may or may not bleep, but do let us know what you think of this one in that comment box. Destiny 2 is coming out soon, and it's coming to PC as well as consoles, but it's going to be running at 30 frames per second on console. But apparently it doesn't have to, but they're going to make it run at 30 anyway.
They are. Mark Noseworthy, the executive producer, explained to Edge magazine why it runs at 30 frames per second on console, and it's because it basically boils down to it's the only way they can make the game that they really want to make.
Yeah. So he's basically said, if they did want to get it running at 60 frames per second, the space would be smaller, it'd be less cooperative, and there'd be fewer monsters to shoot. And he said that's not the game they want to make.
Which is fine. I mean, I'm perfectly fine with 30 frames per second stuff. I know a lot of people aren't. A lot of people do enjoy 60 frames per second games, especially when it comes to multiplayer. But I get it. Obviously, if you have a console and you want it to run at 60 frames per second, that choice would be amazing, but it does sound like the Destiny is technically limited on consoles, and that's why it's running at 30, which, nothing that can be done, unfortunately. While we're in the realm of multiplayer shooters, let's talk about Overwatch. There's been a bunch of stuff announced this week, heaps of changes. New map, new short came out, so I'm going to give you a quick overview of some of those. We've covered a little bit of that in earlier episodes of news if you want to check them out. But mainly D.Va and Mercy are getting new abilities. D.Va's defense matrix is being nerfed, and she's getting the ability to shoot while she uses her boosters, and she's getting some missiles, which is pretty cool. Mercy is getting a brand new ultimate. Her Resurrection ultimate has now become an ability, and her new ultimate is called Valkyrie, and she becomes the Angel of Death. She gets healing and damage boosts, she gets unlimited ammo, and she can fly around the map. It's going to be crazy. And then there's the new map that's set in Australia called Junkertown. Pretty excited about that. Can't wait to play a map set in Australia that isn't the weird Lucio Ball Sydney Opera House map.
Yes, definitely.
But there's been a bit of a controversy about a sign in the trailer.
Yes. So the sign says, and this is one of the biggest stories of the week, I'm sorry, the sign says takeout, and in Australia we call takeout takeaway. Look, it's one of those funny gripes that I think some people have decided to hang their hat on because it's funny to get upset about. I don't think anyone's genuinely really upset about it, but Blizzard went and apologized to Australia anyway because of the oversight.
So yeah, the oversight in Overwatch.
That's right.
Thank God there was no sign for potato scallops or potato cakes, because that would have opened up a whole can of worms.
That's true. Although what did open up a can of worms, not a good segue, was if the worms were our tears, the new May short is super adorable.
Yes, check it out if you haven't already. The Overwatch animated shorts are great, and there is a new one about May and set at Echo Point in Antarctica, which is definitely worth your time.
Yeah.
All May every day. You may remember from E3 2016, EA announced a very, very pretty looking indie game called Fee. We now know that that game's coming out next year, and it's coming to PC, Xbox One, PS4, and Switch.
Yeah, it's supposed to be out early in the year, and I think Switch users are just super excited that they're going to be able to get their hands on this one as well. We knew it was coming to all the other platforms, but the fact that it's going to be on Switch is really exciting for people who want to play this very outdoorsy, nature-heavy game outside.
Totally. The creative lead in a press release said, "We would spend hours in the woods as kids, and while it felt scary at first, eventually the strange sounds became familiar. You will become part of nature, and the forest feels like home. Players will realize the similar feelings as they play through Fee."
So if you don't know, Fee is basically a game where you play as a cub who explores the forest and interacts with the forest animals, and it's all super adorable.
That sounds lovely. I'm actually excited to get this one on Switch, because I played basically all the indie games that I used to play and still play. I play a lot on my Vita. Stuff like Downwell, Super Meat Boy, that Spelunky one. So I'm really excited to be able to have that on a handheld. I just find that I can sink into them a little bit better on a handheld. I don't know why. It's gotten awful lonely in here, and that's because we're about to talk about sports. I know nothing about sports. Jessica clearly knows nothing about sports, and that's why she's subbed in with the guy who knows a little bit about sports, Eddie Maku. Here he is.
What's up, Dan?
I don't know why I clicked. We're here to talk about NBA 2K18 and apparently their cover star.
Yeah, so this is a really interesting and awkward situation for 2K Sports. So about earlier this summer, Kyrie Irving, who was announced as the cover star for NBA 2K18, said, or there were reports about him wanting to be traded, which put the game in an interesting and awkward position, and now that has actually happened. He was traded to the Boston Celtics, which is a team that is near and dear to my heart. And yes, so Kyrie Irving in a Cleveland Cavaliers jersey is still going to be on the cover of the game, but that's not the team that he plays for.
Okay, that seems like a very. So what's 2K going to do? Are they gonna reprint these and send them out free to everyone who buys a copy of NBA 2K18?
Remains to be seen. They put out a statement saying, these things happen. It's the nature of a live sport game, and they even patted themselves on the back a bit, saying that we are a nimble company, so we're allowed to. We have the opportunity, to make these decisions. But 2K is going to put out a version of the game with Kyrie in a Celtics jersey. So if people are looking for that, then they'll be able to get it. And in Canada, DeMar DeRozan of the Toronto Raptors is on the cover, and Shaquille O'Neal is on the cover of their legendary edition.
Okay.
So multiple covers anyway.
Let me pitch this to you, 2K. You make up a bunch of stickers that are just a new jersey, and you have them only available at NBA games. And that's like some viral marketing for you, and also what is a sticker?
Sold.
That is everything we've got for you guys this week. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, do let us know what you thought of today's stories in that comment box, and we will be back on your little screens, whether they be mobile, PC, or otherwise, on Monday.
Don't make fun of our poster for falling down.
Yeah, it keeps falling down.
Sorry. Goodbye, 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 goodbye.